Some of you guys may be looking at these fuses and going like, wow, those are small fuses, right? These are not the same size fuses as I see in some of the other people's builds. I'm going to show you some of the fuses you guys probably been seeing. These are some of the fuses that you guys have probably been seeing in other people's builds. Some of these big guys. Now, you may look at these and say, wow, they are similar, right? They are shaped the same. And the reason that they are shaped the same is because these are the same type of fuses. These are ANL fuses. The only difference is that one is meant for a larger application than the other. One is meant to be a space saver, and the other one, not so much, okay? But this piece of metal inside of this fuse can only handle 300 amps, the same as the little strip of metal inside of this guy can only handle 300 amps. These fuses have the same tolerances. Okay? So don't let this little guy, just because he's small, don't let someone make you think that he can't protect your wire or your system as well as this guy right here. They both do the same job. One is just smaller. Okay, guys, so I figured it would be a good idea to actually give you a visual of the different type of fuse that you would see within your vehicle. Okay, so in this case, you have the ANL fuses. This is the full-size ANL fuses, or fuse in what it would look like, which is this guy here. Okay. I also want you guys to see what a holder for one of these guys would look like. And this is what it would look like. It actually has the plastic cover. This particular one here, you may see something that look a little bit different from this one here, but that's that same 300 amp fuse right there. It has a bolt with dual nut and lock washer, and this here would terminate to an actual wire, of course, and it will pass through the fuse to protect the circuit, or the wire, you could say, depending on what you're using it for, right? It could be protecting a particular component, or it can just be protecting the run of wire itself from one location to another. So that's what that would look like. I also have a miniature version of that same style of fuse. This is another 300 amp. Just because he's small doesn't mean that he does a lesser job. This offers you equal protection against a short or excessive amperage in your system. Okay, so that'll protect your wire just as well as the big guy. This is meant to be a space-saving solution, okay? And this is what one of the holders look like, okay? Fully loaded, the holder, in this case, the holder would look like this. You got pretty much the same setup as the big one, but as you guys can notice, on this one what's different in this particular one that I have, it has a distribution block right here. Well, this is not really a distribution. It's more like a bus bar, a mini bus bar. So you put two leads into here. That'll be your power source. But if you look at this end, it's split. So this can terminate to two different components, but they behave the same way. And in this case, you know, I have the ability to have a 300 amp fuse here and actually have a 150 amp fuse here, depending on the component and the type of wire that I'm going to terminate. But that's more so with the fuse holder itself than the fuse. The fuse is still going to protect against whatever it was rated for, that excessive current. Then you have these blade style fuses right here. This style of fuse right here is known as a maxi fuse. You may hear some people say, or a MAXI style fuse. This one here is bigger than the other two here, even though they're the same style of fuses. Okay? You have an ATC fuse, which is this guy right here. And then you have the ATM. which is this guy right here. But they're all considered what I was growing up calling them was blade fuses. Some people may even call them spade fuses. But they come in many different sizes. Well, I can't say many different. It's another size as well I don't have available with me right now that they can come in. And if you want to look and see what a holder for one of these guys look like, in car audio, they do use these type of fuses for car audio. This is an older one from Scotch that I've had about 10 years or so. I haven't used this thing in like 6 years, but it's just part of my recycle bin. And if you look at the bottom, yeah, that's rusted hardware. Never good to see that. That can tell you how old it is. You take this off, and as you guys can see, it has one of those maxi fuses on it. And there's your two connectors right here, and it simply comes apart and slides down in there like this. This is old school stuff. I don't even know if they still use these or not, but maybe they do. This one here is rated at 80 amps. And I used to have one that was rated at 100 amps, but I don't know what I did with it. Let me go look at my bin. Hold on. There it is. All right, so here we go. I don't know who made this one, but as you guys can see, boom. It's also rated, and it was always hard to get this one out of there. This one here is also a maxi fuse, and it's rated at 100 amps. You can see the conduit inside. You can see that piece of metal. Anything over 100 amps, and that's supposed to melt. It does not supposed to withstand 100 amps of current. And as you can see, it's the same setup. It just pushes down in those grooves, and you get your protection. And this is where you put your wires in, and I think that can take about 8 gauge. Yeah, about 8 gauge power wire. And there you go. Those are the different type of fuses. If you are enjoying this video and would like to learn a little bit more about how to simplify car audio, please consider clicking that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. So what are some examples of why someone would choose this fuse over this fuse and vice versa? Well, sometimes it boils down to your application. Right here, you have a 3/16 bolt with additional hardware, nut, washer with lock washer. So what would this be used for? Big washer like this is because of the fitting. You see that? It fits this 3/16 bolt almost perfectly. It's very little wiggle room right here. So this is why you would choose a big one like this for this type of hardware, or to choose this type of hardware for this type of fuse. Now let's look at the little guy. The little guy, you would typically secure him the same way, lock washer with nut. But look how small he is. You see that? Look how small that is. This can't fit 3/16 hardware. It's simply too big. So what you would do instead, you would pick something like a M5 screw. You see that? An M5 fits perfectly in there to protect your 300 amp application, whether that be primarily the wiring or a specific component. Batteries need protecting too. So there you go. Two of the most common reasons why people would choose one over the other sometimes boil down to the hardware. Another thing to consider when choosing these type of fuses is the size of your final product. In this case, we have the single ANL fuse inside this fuse holder. And if you guys are wondering, this thing measures about 5 inches in length. and about 1.5 inches in width. Now let's look at this guy. 1.5 inches in width, 1 inch in height, and 2.5 inches in length. So basically, as far as length go, you can get 2 of these to replace 1 of these. Now, depending on how many times you have to apply this, this can be a significant determining factor on your overall size of your final product. Like I said, this is a single ANL, regular ANL fuse holder that houses a single ANL fuse, and it measures approximately twice the housing unit of this Mini-ANL fuse holder. The biggest takeaway is that both of these fuses are rated at 300 amps. This actually houses 2 Mini-ANL fuses. So if you was to look at it from that perspective, this is 4 times greater than this in usability. And it saves a ton of space. Now, if you can't get around using a regular size ANL fuse, you could buy a holder that fits multiple of these units. The only problem with that is that those things can get kind of expensive. So it'll be good to do some planning before you do any purchases. Crunch your numbers, do all your measurements, write them down, get a program such as SketchUp or something like that, and then see how much space you have to work with. You may not even need these things at all. Okay guys, so there you have it. And yeah, I get it, this wasn't 100% coverage of car audio fusing. But hey, I just like to get the conversation going. Do any of you guys look at fusing differently now that you have watched this video? And if so, did it impact you in a positive or in a negative manner? The last thing I want to do is leave you guys confused, but hey, sometimes not hearing the whole truth or hearing a different truth can sometimes erase other questions. Well guys, that's what the comment section is for. Quite sure that more of the most experienced guys will be more than willing to fill in the gaps that I left in this video. Thanks for visiting the channel to help you simplify car audio. It's the Budget Bass here, and I'm out.